Hey family, hope you're well. I hope everybody's having a nice day. I'm enjoying the last few days of summer. The sun is out, it's great. It's actually quite great. A bit too sunny. Just a second. I'm at my trusted balcony. Today I'm going to give you a bit of a view of, let me see if I can do that. Okay, I think, okay, I'm not able to do it. I wanted to see if I can turn around the camera. I'll do it next time and show you a bit. I really need to figure out how to use this thing. Anyway, so welcome back to the lovely channel. It's your friend, your pal, Amazing Mercy, 40-year-old Mercy. Now it's that time of the year again, and you know what time of the year it is? It's almost October, the time when people start applying for US diversity visas. You know those things? Yeah. And quite a bit of things have been coming up, and I think it's a mixture of curiosity and sometimes just plain not wanting to know stuff. So I wanted to make this short video about well, I don't know if it's going to be short or not, but anyway, I wanted to make this video about immigration. So I moved from Kenya to Switzerland when I was 21. I came for school, and then I've somehow stayed forever. I was supposed to be here for 6 months, and 18 years later I'm still here. Anyway, the thing is, it takes it's different, and there are many reasons why people immigrate. You know, sometimes I go online and I see some of these comments about when people ask about maybe immigration to the US or something. And just so you know, I am going to have a few interviews about immigration, and I will be interviewing somebody who immigrated from Kenya to the US and liked it. I will also be interviewing someone who immigrated from the Kenya to the US, regretted it, and then you can make up your own mind. So I live in Switzerland, not in the US. I've never lived in the US, but I do have family who live there. Some are very happy, some do not like it at all. Some, well, they don't care. Some are just there. But anyway, one thing I can say is there is something to leaving the country. I mean, you don't have to, the way people make it sound, it's like if you leave the country, you're not patriotic or you're betraying your home country. And then one thing I hate is when people keep saying east or west, home is best. Okay, the fact that you were born somewhere, you're not a tree, does not mean you have to die there. If you're not happy, look for your happiness elsewhere. I know quite a lot of people, me included, who do not even want, I love Kenya, I have nothing against Kenya, but I do not really feel like I want to live there forever and ever and ever, and then there's always every time I say this to my friends, and I'm sure I'm going to get some very nasty comments, every time I say this to people, what they keep telling me is, oh, when you're old, you want to be in a country where it's cold, you want to be in a country where you're being put in an old people's home, you want to live in a place where your children don't come to see you. My thing is, my children are very young. What are the chances, even if we move back to Kenya, what are the chances that their generation is going to be the kind of generation that takes in their parents and not puts them in an old age home? I I like my life here. I loved my life in Kenya. I love visiting Kenya. I love seeing Kenya. I'm very proud of being Kenyan. See, there are parts of it that I like, but it does not mean that I would want to live there forever. So if you feel in your heart that there's something missing and you would like to try moving to another country or immigrating, find out ways that you can immigrate to that country and go. Try your luck. It might work, it might not work, you might succeed, you might fall flat on your face, but don't go listening to all these myths about everybody, every single Kenyan abroad is suffering. Every single Kenyan abroad is working very long hours and struggling and hardly making any living. And you know what? There are people who are struggling. There are people who are hardly making ends meet. There are people who are living from paycheck to paycheck. There are people who are on welfare. But you know what? There are also people who are making it. There are also people who have the kind of life that you would like. Okay, now let's talk about the first question that I always get when people want to move to, the US, and when they're filling this diversity visas. So I did do a bit of research on this one because, well, I've never done it. So, okay, the first thing is, why do I need to have a passport? Okay, first of all, why don't you have a passport if you're considering that at some point you would like to move out of the country? That's just some of these things. There's wanting something, and then there's being proactive about your wants. So if you say, I want to do this, then don't you at least start the process? I want to move. One day, I just wish somebody would bless me with moving out of this country. And then the opportunity comes and you don't have your passport. Shouldn't you have already started the process? You've been crying that you want to leave the country for 5 years, never even thought about, what is the process of this passport? How long does it take to get a passport? What do I need to get a passport? That's when now, somebody has offered me an opportunity to move to Qatar and I don't have a passport. What do I do? Don't you think that's nonsense? It is. Then, so people go like, why do I need a passport? What if I don't get it? And so is this passport written specifically going to America? You cannot go anywhere else. You cannot even go to South Africa or even to Uganda with your passport. You only have to go to South Africa. You only have to go to the US with it. Okay. Second question I always hear is, so who, then they will pay everything for you, or you get a job, you get a house, you don't get anything. Someone is already giving you an opportunity to go and live in their country and work in their country. Why should they give you the job? First of all, consider the fact that you're already lucky enough that you speak the language. There are people who move to the US from other countries, from Francophone countries, from Spanish-speaking countries, from Portuguese-speaking countries. They don't speak the language. So they get there and they have to start from scratch. By scratch, I mean they have to learn the language. You already speak the language. And then you want to get there and, I was a teacher, so I expect to get there and be a teacher. Your qualifications have to be validated. You have, just because you are an amazing teacher in Kenya does not mean you're an amazing teacher in the US. You have to retrain in most cases. And that's just it. Many people do not want to go through that process. Either they cannot afford it or they do not want to go through it. There are two different ways. So I always hear these stories of, this person was a doctor in Kenya and now they got a green card, moved to the US, and now in the US they are pumping gas. And my question was, I know people who are doctors in the US and they did train in Kenya. My question is, what is this person not telling you? Because Americans are not that dumb. Even this diversity visa thing, it's a way of getting quality people into their country. They do not want to bring you in and then not use your skills. By the way, if there's one thing I appreciate about many of this about the US, as much as I have my own issues with the US. But one thing I appreciate about the US is when you have the skills, there's someone ready to use the skills, and you can see people. So there's always someone who, there are always naysayers. And I'm not saying that everything is always fine. I'm not saying that everything is always right. I'm not saying that every time someone does not succeed, it's their fault. All I'm saying is sometimes you're not being told the whole story. From what I understand, there's a little bit of extra learning that has to be done. There's a little bit of maybe a few courses that have to be done to change your diploma or to change, so quite a few things sometimes have to be done for you to qualify to work in that country, which is normal. I have friends who went and studied in India. They studied medicine, and then when they came back to Kenya, they had to do some courses before they could be integrated into the Kenya Medical Board. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so. So I know that is the case. I don't know if it's like that for every single person who studies abroad, but I know that happens. So why would the US people just accept your diploma? Which, by the way, let's just be honest, we are known for not exactly being above board with many things, yeah? So they don't know whether you got your diploma at River Road. They don't know how good your education system is. They don't know if you know the difference between a scalpel and a knife. They have no idea, but they're just supposed to take your word for it because you have this piece of paper and not even, just allow you in. Is that how it's supposed to work? I don't think so. Okay, the other thing is, granted, there are stories of people who went to the US and got into drugs, got into lifestyles that messed up their future, and then they ended up, the story of the lady who, it's always on YouTube. She's had substance abuse problems. She finally ended up being deported and stuff like that. And let me tell you, these are things that will happen, whether it is back home, whether it is here, whether it is in the US, where, there are people who sometimes things just happen. Sometimes problems just happen. There are people who are just not lucky. There are people who are just not wise. There are people who, there are just things that happen in life. I mean, you can't control everything, and chances are that person would have had the same problems whether they had stayed in Kenya or whether they had moved, or they would have still had the same problems. So sometimes it really does not make much of a difference where the person was, and maybe they would have even been worse if they were in Kenya, because I keep hearing stories of, oh, their kids are so disrespectful. And I can tell you that I have been to some Kenyan homes in Kenya, and their kids, I look at them and I'm like, my goodness, how does somebody raise children to be this disrespectful? How? So if you are the kind of parent who is going to let your kids be disrespectful, by the way, I'm not saying my kids are perfect. They have their own issues. I have my own times that I'm looking at myself and I'm like, how did it get this bad? But you know what? You cannot go deciding that, oh, all the children who are raised outside the country are this way, and all the children who are raised I don't know where are this way. You can't. That's not something you can say. The other thing is, I've always said, I think it's great exposure for kids, even if at some point you would want to come back to Kenya. Nobody, the thing is, when you get that green card, it does not mean, first of all, nowadays Kenya, you have the dual nationality thing, so you can keep your Kenyan nationality. First of all, the green card is not even an American passport. It's just the green card. You're allowed to work there. So you still keep your Kenyan passport. So you can still you can go and then pack your bags and come back after a month. If you feel like, no, this is just not for me, you can still do that. So nobody is telling you once you go, you're not allowed to come back. So the other thing is education system. Sometimes it's good to get your children exposed to a different way of life. Now, even in Kenya, when you look at children who have grown up in international schools, by the way, not everybody who takes their children to international schools can afford it or are very, very rich. Some people, it's companies that pay, some people, when you look at how different those kids look at the world, as opposed to a child who looks at the world in a certain level, there's this glorification of just being okay. Oh, I don't need to be rich, I just need to have enough to eat. No, me, I'm sorry, but me, I need to be rich. I don't need to be rich. Oh, as long as I'm happy, I don't care about having extra. Oh, I'll have children to take care of me. Now, when you grow up and you're surrounded by people, like-minded people, by the way, sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone, because when you're surrounded by like-minded people, your growth stops there. You know, the way my parents' generation, many of them came to Nairobi. Well, they were like the first person in the family to come to Nairobi, not my mom, but I don't know. Anyway, so their generation, there's always that thing of the first one to come to Nairobi and then the others follow, right? First one to come to Nairobi, when they start going back to the village, they always had this attitude of, how do these people live like this? Because then you've come and you've seen, oh, it's normal to have a flashing toilet and a toilet in the house, and it's normal to have this and it's normal to have that. And all of a sudden, less than starts looking quite different to you, as opposed to somebody who has never left, So sometimes it's good. Sometimes, one thing I really regret, which I have been wanting to do, is I haven't traveled that much. I genuinely never got the opportunity as a child to travel outside Kenya. And I never traveled. I've never even been to Tanzania or Uganda. That's just so not right. And I've always wanted to, especially Zanzibar. And it's one thing. You can judge people because, well, I mean, what do you see? You see people you see the media, and that's all you know, right? And of course the media has its own bias, right? It has to have ratings, so they have to portray certain people in a certain way. So you have white people who've never traveled, who think that Africans live on trees and don't wear shoes, and the whole Africa is a desert. And then you have Africans who've never traveled, who believe that every single white person is racist and every single white person is uneducated and doesn't brush their teeth. Trust me, there are people who actually believe that. I remember a guy who was very surprised that there are white people who don't speak English, and I was like, okay. It's like, yeah, how can a white person not speak English? And I was also talking to a friend of mine who was telling me the same thing, that she has a relative who was asking, how is it that that country, they like everything, even in school, they go to school in French, they don't speak English at all. Like, this person found it very, very strange. I have met Swiss people who, when you tell them that in Kenya we go to school in English, they're like, but why? And they're like, you don't have your own language that you can go to school in? Because for them, they're like, but English is not your language. It's, it's the English people's language, and you have your own language. Why don't you like your own culture? So I have met people who think like that, and it's well, okay. Now, I saved this for the last because I think this is going to be one of those reasons why many people claim that they don't want to travel, is racism. I will not stand here, I will not sit here and tell you that racism does not exist, because that would be me being ignorant. What I can tell you is, in my 40 years in this world, I have faced more tribalism. I have been judged more by my tribe. I have been insulted more because of my tribe than I have been treated because of the color of my skin. I'm not going to discount how other people have suffered because of racism, because that does happen. There are people who've been very unlucky. There are seriously people who I hear the stories or I see what's happened to them and I'm like, wow, how did you survive that? But I have been lucky that that has not been the case for me until now. I've just been lucky. And quite a lot of people that I know in the US have had similar experiences. They've had, they've just generally lived their lives. And of course, they've had a few microaggressions here and there. And they've learned how to differentiate between a racist person and just a generally stupid person. So because there are people who, they're not racist, they're just dumb. Like, there's absolutely nothing you can tell them that will not change their mind about just what it's like generational stupidity. They just, they ask some questions and you're like, wow, that actually came out of a grown human's mouth. Passed through your brain, came out of your mouth, and at no point did you think that is quite an ignorant thing to say. But anyway, so there is that. I'm not going to discount it. But my dear, explain to me one place you have ever lived where you are not judged in one way or another. I'll wait. Explain to me. Yes, it might be bad because, okay, there you might get shot. There, I don't know, things might happen and you might miss a job because of the racism and what. But you know what? Same thing will happen if you are in the wrong place at the wrong election time in Kenya. So anyway, all to say that if you want to try your luck in the diversity visa, don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people who are telling you all this negativity. Negativity is there. And if you want to sit and start talking about how bad things are, we can sit and start comparing war wounds and it will be hell. However, at the end of the day, you're the one who knows where that shoe is pinching you. You're the one who knows that I am barely surviving. I need to try something new. You're the one who knows that I have a health condition that I need some sort of reliable place where when I get sick, I know I will go to a hospital near me and it will have all the medication that I need. You're the one who knows that you would like your children to grow up this way. You're the one who knows. You're the one who makes that decision. So, if you feel like you need to leave for you to make these choices, do not listen to some people on Facebook who are going to tell you, my cousin's brother's sister's auntie went to the US and came back an alcoholic. My neighbor's cousin's ghost did this and that. No. It's up to you. You're the one to decide. If you want to go, pack your bags, go. If you want, try your luck. Find out, I want to go to Canada. How do I go to Canada? Let's first start with getting a passport. First get a passport and then you decide where you want to go. Passport is for going everywhere. Okay? So it's not that, I don't have anywhere to go. Get the passport and then you decide where you want to go. You can go for holiday. You can go for, just open up your mind. Don't be this comfortable in that. And please don't get me started on the na sisi wenye hatupendi kwenda, I will die in my country. Okay, you die in your country. But you know what? If somebody else wants to go, let them go. Don't sit there telling people how they need to change their minds. Oh, east or west or home is this. Home is where your heart is. Home is where your heart is. I know people who own houses in Florida. They don't even own anything in Kenya. So, do you want to tell me Kenya is still their home? They have American nationality. They have all their investments in the US. They have all this. Is Kenya still their home? That's where they were born. But that's not where they feel secure for some of them. And some people have decided this is where, there are people who've decided this is where they want to die. This is where they want to live forever. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's seriously nothing wrong with that. Let's normalize. I think this is another thing that I love about Nigerians. Nigerians have totally normalized the fact that you can be from wherever, you're still Nigerian, and it does not take away from you being Nigerian the fact that you've decided to move to a different country. But Kenyans, all of a sudden, you want to start treating somebody differently. I'm telling you, even at the airport, when you're a Kenyan holding you're an Atieno, a Kamau, a what, holding a passport, an EU passport, you're looked at in a certain way, yeah? They already look at you like, now this one is going to be trouble. This one has an attitude. They already look at you in a bad way. It's just, we have this thing of judging, and you're already thinking, oh, this person is being arrogant. This person is being what? And sometimes they're just being themselves. I'm telling you, sometimes you're so used to things working normal that, the way you get so used to, okay, if people who are in the UK, British people love to make queues, right? So people who are in the UK, they're so used to, if I'm in a queue, this queue is going to move and I'm going to get to where I'm going, right? In Kenya, someone is in the queue, but then there's somebody else who's still getting dressed at home who is going to come and join that queue, and it's a whole corrupt process. Even just a normal, straightforward thing is a corrupt process. So when you've been living in a place where this is the time I'm supposed to be here, and you've already gotten there, and then all of a sudden nobody's there and you're wondering what's happening, it is normal that you would be a bit bothered by small things like this. But then these are the same small things that will bother you if you have moved from a place where people spit on the streets, and now you're living in Runda where you are not allowed to be throwing gum on the road. So it is not a matter of somebody who is living abroad or somebody who's living, it's just a matter of different environments. So let's just normalize it, and let's normalize being nice to each other. Okay, so I am going to put the link to the diversity visa on the description. I will be having an interview very, very soon, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, with somebody, and then we will see how this goes. But people, please just normalize people moving on. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.